Let's begin.
It's October 29th, 2021. You know what that means. It is day 29 of the 31 Days of Fright horror movie project, year 10. We are 3 days, actually 2 days from the ending of this whole month long of watching 31 horror movies and reviewing 31 horror movies. I cannot believe I made it this far with my work schedule. I'm very proud of myself for making it this far with only doubling up once. I technically tripled up in one video, but even with that one, it was all set in the same universe. So making it this far without doubling up, I'm more than once. I'm very proud of myself. So. But before I get really into this review, I need you to click subscribe, hit the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, and share. And while you're doing that, do the exact same thing for these following shout-outs, because we're near the end, guys and girls. We got Curly Girl at the Movies, Carly 317, 13th Wolfman, I Am the Ice Lord, Retro Horror, Random Horror, Trash Film Addict, Double Shot J, Dave Maggot, Tony Has 9 Fingers. There's plethora of us doing it this year. We're so close to the end, everyone. Hope you all are having a good final 3 days of the 31 Days of Fright. It's going to be fun to see what you all have picked out for the last few days. So, my last movies is Midsommar, the director's cut. This is actually the 4K version. I cannot open this movie and show this book because it's all the artwork from the movie. It's very graphic and very detailed, and so it's even though it's like very cartoony drawings, but I can't. It's just YouTube wouldn't allow it. So it kind of looks all like this kind of artwork, that art style. So, but I reviewed the theatrical cut, I think last year, I do believe, or the year before, and I absolutely loved it. And the director's cut adds a few more scenes and a little bit more context to what some things have been going on between characters and everything. So, but if I'm going to get into spoilers, this is probably the one movie this year that I'm going to get into spoilers. So I'm really sorry if you don't want to watch this. I totally understand, but I'm going to try to leave details out on purpose to kind of make it still fresh for someone to watch if you haven't seen it. So if you do choose to watch it, so the beginning of the movie opens up with this fantastic, dreary, snowy setting. It's in the middle of the night. You got this our lead actress Florence Pugh, who Danny. She's getting some of these weird messages from her sisters, like everything is going black, and I'm taking mom and dad with me. Goodbye. And she's freaking out. She's trying to get her sister on the phone, her parents on the phone. And then at the exact same time, she's having this relationship problem with her boyfriend who won't commit to breaking up with her. And so he's dealing with that. And you find out that her sister killed her parents and committed suicide by running tubing through the house and from the exhaust of their vehicles, and just dying from carbon monoxide poisoning, essentially. So she's dealing with this, and her boyfriend stays with her out of pity, basically. Okay, I don't know, lack of a better term. And so so the relationship is still not doing well, even through all this. And so he invites her to Sweden, which is to celebrate their Midsommar celebration, because you got this one guy who's doing his thesis on it, and another guy who's trying to essentially, he's the villain of the movie. He's kind of getting them to go to this place. So they all travel to Sweden, and it's beautifully shot, because this horror movie is essentially nothing but daylight scenes, and it's amazing. I watched this in 4K, and it's just beautiful. I loved it. I think the best other 4K movie that I've watched was 1917. I just am astonished at how beautiful that movie looks. And just to say it, because this one has a little bit more color because of all the flowers and the green landscape and everything. And so it's just amazing. So you get a bunch of group of Americans, and you got a few other people kind of who are outsiders as well within this compound. And when they finally get there, and you got a kind of some also turmoil between the two of the guys who are one who's like really being really super lazy, the boyfriend who about doing his thesis, and he's kind of piggybacking and kind of like saying, hey, I'm going to do the exact same thesis as another guy who's essentially there for a reason, and he just brought everyone along with him. And so they're having their little fight, and they're having their fight, and she's having her crisis of everything, and they're trying not to offend these people, which one of them does. And then so that's basically the beginning of this movie, okay? And then that's when the traditions start. It's a 9-day fest when they start doing the traditions and everything. The first real big moment where this movie really takes a really like, oh my God, where's the rest of this movie going, is when these two elders have reached the end of their life cycle, okay? Age 72 is the end of life for these people. And they go to this really awesome, cool area, and they go to the top of a cliff, and then they just swan dive off and killing themselves. And so, but they didn't tell the outsiders who are the Americans and what's happening. So they're all freaking out. Other people are like trying to explain to them, this is just our lifestyle. This is tradition, and they're happy to be doing this and everything. And just like, oh, and it's just like, oh, yeah, it's all that. And then she's having this like our main actress she's like, she doesn't really have like, she's just in shock, and I really like that. And so this kind of leads into some of the director's cut scenes, because like I mentioned with the like kind of piggybacking on the things and stuff like that, and that's kind of like some of the extra scenes as well. Kind of add some context as to like character manipulation from some other characters in the movie and everything like that. But one of the bigger scenes in this movie is that they're about to sacrifice this kid, and then they like, no, let's not do this out of because he bravely did it. So they forego his sacrifice, and then they go off and do something else. So that comes into play much later in the movie that I did not realize, because there's a scene in the theatrical cut where you see one of the other kind of outsider groups couple, and she's wrapped up in like pine tree and jewels and knickknacks and everything, being carted off to the end of the movie. And it's like, what happened? Like, what happened here? And that kind of like, you realize that they chained her legs together, strapped her to a rock, and threw her in the water, and she drowned out of sacrifice. So they're doing all this for like, for the crops and everything like that, and just it's a fantastically brutal movie. That's the best way I can really describe this movie, because when the elders jump off that ledge, one of them ends up doing it wrong, basically, and they have to go smash his head in. And it is brutal, okay? It's graphic, it's rough, and it's meant to be that way, because you're basically in the same shoes as our actress and our outside characters. You're looking in just as they are and seeing this all for the first time, and it's supposed to be like that. So, and in the next few days, they're starting to like really get into the festival and the food and everything, and our lead actress is crowned the Mayflower Queen, and then that's when people start to go missing, okay? And that's when the movie really starts to ramp up the suspense and the horror and everything, and like what's going on and who's really behind all this, and it's awesome. And I think that's really all I'm going to try to say about the spoilers. So like, I didn't really dive too much into it, I hope, but I just gave that spoiler warning just to be on the safe side. So it's fantastically brutal, and like a bear is just caged up on the grounds. It's just wow, this movie. Okay, the director's cut is definitely superior than the theatrical cut, just because of those few extra scenes in the movie, and gives the characters a little bit more backstory, and kind of shows you that some of these characters are a little bit more are malleable and are a little bit more open to manipulation, and how well our villain of the movie is at doing what he's there to do, is to get these people to his home out in the middle of nowhere, which is Sweden, and it's just beautiful. It really is. They built this whole town out in the middle of nowhere, and it's awesome. So this movie isn't for everybody. Okay, that's 100% the thing. It's not for everybody. It can make you very squeamish. It can be. If you don't like slow, drawn out horror movies, this ain't for you. It can be triggering at sometimes, especially when it comes to suicide and just relationship stuff. If you are in that kind of type of relationship, it could be kind of rough, and there is just there's kind of forced sex, drugs, but it's just oh man, it's fantastically brutal. That's what I'm going to say about this movie. That's what I can say about it. So, this is a 5. This is a horror classic. This is directed by Ari Aster, who also directed Hereditary, which I liked. I wasn't really 100% on board with Hereditary. I think this movie is the better of the two movies so far that he's directed. I liked Hereditary. There's moments in that movie that got me really hard, and it got me like it got me hard in the sense that it was just like, oh man, like it's a mind. It just got me. My mind, like, oh my god, did I just see that? Did I just witness that? Did they just killed that character off? It's like, oh my god, it's like this movie. It's like, but this movie did it 10 times more. So, and more spectacular ways. So it's just, yeah. And so that is all I have to say about Midsommar's director's cut. I definitely say seek out this movie if you like these kind of really cult-esque movies. It is a cult movie, and there's a lot of scenes that would you do what they kind of makes you question, like what would you do if you were in their situation and everything, and shows you how good at lying these people are and everything like that. So it's a really fantastic movie. It really is. So that is all I have to say about Midsommar director's cut. I am the one and only MSJ, Max for short, and thank you.